Did you know that 78% of people who stay in abusive relationships report feeling addicted to their partner? Research from the Clinical Psychology Review shows the same brain chemistry that fuels drug cravings also fuels the cycle of love bombing and devaluation. Imagine being drawn back into a relationship after weeks of cruelty, because your brain is craving the same dopamine hit you get from a sugar rush. That powerful push-pull is not romance, it's a trauma bond, and it's more common than you think. The core mechanism is trauma bonding, a strong emotional attachment that forms after intermittent reinforcement, where unpredictable rewards create a deep psychological tie. Studies show that intermittent reinforcement triggers a dopamine cortisol loop, a cycle where stress hormones heighten the pleasure response. This loop mirrors addiction pathways, making the victim feel compelled to return despite the abuse. Covert narcissists exploit this by alternating love bombing, intense affection used to gain trust, with devaluation, subtle or overt criticism, to keep the victim off balance and dependent. Neurologically, the brain's reward center, primarily the nucleus accumbens, releases dopamine, a chemical that signals pleasure, during love bombing. When the partner withdraws, cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes, creating anxiety. The brain then craves the next dopamine surge to alleviate that stress, similar to how addicts chase a high. Functional scans show heightened activity in these regions during the reconciliation phase, confirming that the emotional high is literally a neurochemical reward. This explains why leaving feels like a withdrawal symptom. You might notice a partner who showers you with gifts, compliments, and grand gestures, then suddenly becomes cold, critical, or even hostile for days. They will often disappear for a week, ignoring texts, only to return with an apologetic hug and a surprise dinner. Watch for sudden mood swings that follow a predictable pattern: idealization, devaluation, then reunion. Another sign is the push-pull texting style: rapid replies when they want something, silent treatment when they feel rejected. These cycles repeat, reinforcing the trauma bond each time. Even the most analytical minds can be fooled because the brain's chemistry overrides rational thought. The dopamine surge creates a feeling of euphoria that temporarily masks the abuse, while cortisol heightens vigilance and makes the victim hyper-aware of any sign of approval. This neurochemical cocktail tricks the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision-making, into prioritizing short-term reward over long-term safety. So it's not a lack of intelligence, it's a biological hijack that anyone can experience. 1. Excessive flattery that feels too perfect. 2. Rapid escalation of intimacy before you've even met friends. 3. Unexplained disappearances followed by dramatic apologies. 4. Frequent mood swings that leave you walking on eggshells. 5. They blame you for their own bad behavior: "You made me angry." 6. They isolate you from family or friends under the guise of protecting you. 7. You feel a physical craving for their affection, like a withdrawal when apart. Each sign builds on the last, forming a clear pattern of manipulation. The abuser's motivation is control through emotional dependency. Covert narcissists experience vulnerable narcissism, a hidden sense of entitlement paired with a facade of fragility. They weaponize victimhood to elicit guilt and compliance, believing they deserve special treatment yet feeling the world has denied it. By creating the trauma bond, they secure a reliable source of admiration and supply without having to earn it consistently. Their strategic callousness, low affective empathy, high cognitive empathy, lets them mimic concern while remaining detached from your pain. Researchers recommend the reality log method: write down dates, conversations, and emotions after each interaction to counteract gaslighting and cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort when holding conflicting beliefs. Practice intermittent reinforcement on yourself, set boundaries and stick to them, rewarding yourself for each upheld limit. Seek out a support network. External validation rewires the dopamine loop away from the abuser. Finally, engage in stress reduction techniques, mindfulness, exercise, to lower cortisol levels, making the brain less receptive to the manipulator's highs. A 2026 Clinical Psychology Review article demonstrated that participants exposed to intermittent affection showed a 35% increase in dopamine spikes compared to those receiving steady affection. The same study linked cortisol spikes to heightened anxiety during devaluation phases, confirming the dopamine-cortisol loop hypothesis. Meanwhile, the Journal of Personality Disorders highlighted that covert narcissists score higher on vulnerable narcissism scales, using passive-aggressive entitlement, a belief they deserve special treatment while blaming others, to manipulate partners. These findings give us a scientific roadmap to recognize and disrupt the cycle. Beyond control, the abuser seeks validation of their grandiose self-image. By keeping you off balance, they can rewrite reality at will, reinforcing their own sense of superiority. Their low affective empathy, lack of feeling others' pain, combined with high cognitive empathy, understanding how you think, allows them to tailor manipulation precisely. This strategic callousness, deliberate, unemotional exploitation, satisfies their internal need for dominance while preserving an outward mask of charm, making it harder for victims to trust their own perceptions. Understanding the trauma bond loop turns the invisible into something you can see and break. You have the power to rewire your brain's reward system and reclaim autonomy. If this helped you, share it with someone who needs to understand this behavior.